What is going on, everybody? What is going on? This is James Hollingsworth coming to you live on the Working People's Podcast. And I have some very special, insightful, hopefully hopeful information that was helpful to share with you tonight on inflation, the cost of living, the housing market, and the stock market. But once again, welcome to the Working People's Podcast, where everybody here desires to build generational wealth and a financial legacy for their family. So if you're watching over there on YouTube, thank you for joining us tonight. I also want to invite you to press that subscribe button, press that thumbs up like button, and drop some comments below and share this content with your friends, family, and your cousin them. And also, if you're watching here on the Working People's Podcast Facebook page, as well as my personal page, do the same. Press that thumbs up like button, drop us some hearts, and come through and share some comments with us. Give us your perspectives, your take on the things that we're going to be talking about tonight, because I wanted to kind of dive into it a little bit. There's so much information out there, and one thing that I've taken a couple weeks to really just kind of ponder and think on is what are my true thoughts about the economy, inflation, since I came on last, and we didn't share it when Deja and I came on a few days ago, whenever it was. We didn't dive into, since the last time I've dropped a video, that inflation spiked up to 9.1%. And I won't be surprised if we hit that 10% mark possibly soon. And I guess we'll just have to wait and see what the Fed comes out and says, you know. But go back and watch some of the videos that we've been sharing on different things with the economy. We did a show on talking about Jerome Powell and his interview that he did with the Senate, with Congress or whatever. And some of the things that he said in there when he was asked, did he think that gas prices and food, if we're going to see a decline in those areas in terms of prices, and he was, it's like, no, he didn't think that was going to happen. But hey, if you're watching also on the Facebook page of Second Friendship Missionary Baptist Church, shout out to you, the ship, and to Rodney Williams, pastor of Second Friendship Missionary Baptist Church. Come on through, y'all, because we need to talk about it. And I want to give my perspective and my thoughts about the economy, the housing market in particular, and the stock market, because there's so many people out there that's saying, and they this is their time when they are able to I told you, stay away from the stock market, because the stock market is trash, and look at you, you're losing all your money, this, that, and the third, blah, 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 right? Those things. So I want to give my perspective. And there's one thing that Warren Buffett said, and I'm going to go to my notes here because I don't want to misquote something that's important as what Warren Buffett said, right? The last thing you want to do is misquote Warren Buffett, right? So Warren Buffett said, if you aren't thinking about owning a stock for 10 years, don't even think about owning it for 10 minutes. And here's the problem when people start telling you about you should stay away from the stock market, don't invest in your 401ks and stuff like that. If you're getting a company match, I'd say you would be crazy not to invest in it if your company is providing a match for your company-sponsored 401k plan. Take that free money and get the match, all right? And I've shared with you many times Dave Ramsey's study where they surveyed over 10,000 millionaires, and they determined that the majority, 80% of them, had invested in a 401k plan that became millionaires. And 3/4 or 3/4 of them, or 75% of them, they were actually investing in other things along with and in addition to their company sponsored plan. So get that free money, y'all. So my thoughts on inflation is this is not the highest time we've seen inflation. We've seen it high And I know the job losses haven't really come in certain sectors yet, so we haven't seen that type of impact in certain sectors of the economy as far as employers, but we have seen them in the financial arena, the insurance arena. For example, Wells Fargo, they've laid some people off in underwriting and some of the processors and things like that. So I said it before, and I'm going to say it again. If these high inflation numbers continue to linger on, companies got to continue to make their profit margins because they got to keep their shareholders and stockholders happy. This is why I tell everybody to invest, because the people that these corporations are concerned about are shareholders and those people that they have to answer to. They have to make sure they keep their profits up and they keep their earnings up. So the people that they're concerned about are people that are shareholders. And if you don't own any stocks, you're not investing in anything like that, yes, I can see why you would be concerned and you would have some problems with the stock market, right? So they got to keep their earnings up. And if the high numbers, inflation numbers keep going like they are, people are cutting back on their spending, right? Money is getting tight. Then naturally, one of the first things to happen is layoffs, downsizing. So keep your ear to the door. My thoughts on inflation is, look, I think we should always do this anyway, but now more than anything, if you got revolving credit, accounts, credit cards, stuff like that, any type of loans you can get paid off. Okay, maybe you can't attack your mortgage aggressively like that, and perhaps you can't attack your car loan, whatever, aggressively like that. But if you have a revolving accounts, if you have any other type of personal loans, pay them off. At bare minimum, pay them down. Get yourself out from under those debts, with typically a lot of times they carry higher interest rates, right? So that is one of my number ones. Pay off debt, especially any revolving debts, right? Drop me some comments and tell me what you all think about that. I think that's one of the number one things we should be doing. The second thing with that is begin, and I've said it when I talk about saving and investing, get you some cash reserves. If you haven't been doing it, start doing it now. Studies show that the average American, they don't even have enough money to deal with a $400 emergency. And then I think the numbers are somewhere like 50% of Americans or something like that. Don't quote me on this one. I know it's somewhere in that area, like 50 to 54% of Americans don't even have enough money to deal with a $1,000 emergency. So get your cash reserves. Start doing that now, right? I don't care where you put it. Money market. If you want to put it in a CD or something, I don't really care. Just start getting you some cash reserves. Store it up so that you can be in a better position where if something does happen and your employment sector is affected by layoffs in the months to come, if this thing doesn't begin to curve itself off with the Fed raising interest rates, then you could be in a position where you're not struggling, because we just really, are we really out of the pandemic? I don't think so, right? So there's still a lot of things that are shaky in the economy. We know that things are shaky with supply chain issues, especially as it relates to new construction, certain types of essential products like that. So I say make sure, get your debt out, taking care of, squash it, pay stuff off, do whatever you can to attack it, pay the stuff off, get it down as low as you can, and get your cash reserves up. For a couple reasons. For emergencies, as well as I believe that there are going to become opportunities to invest, opportunities in the housing markets, opportunities to buy into get a hold of some assets that are going to be selling at discounts. So if you got some cash on hand where you can make a move, then you'll be able to do that. And I think we're looking at between now and the next 2 years, we're going to be seeing things like this happening. That is what I say, right? Give me your thoughts on what I just mentioned about that. So I personally don't think, I think it's going to be hard pressed for the Fed to hit their target that they're shooting for next year, that range of interest rates. And I had it written down somewhere, and I don't know where I put it. But I want to say they had a range from anywhere from like 4.6% to their ultimate goal of like, what was it? 2.6, 3.6, somewhere in that range. I think it's going to be hard pressed for the Fed to hit that target rate by the end of 2023. I don't think the struggle's over, but y'all tell me what you think. Now, here's the thing people talking about. We're in a recession. I heard a guy recently, he came out and he said a soft recession. What is a soft recession? A recession is a recession. I mean, it kills me when we try to come up with these like buzzwords, like alter what it is. Like, you know, people don't want to call it house poor anymore. And, you know, people don't hate that term. So now they change it and say, well, you don't want to be house burden, to lighten the effect of it. But the truth is, you can overpay for a house. Just because they say you qualify for that amount doesn't mean that's the amount of house you should pay for, right? So that's another word, a soft recession. What? To make us feel better about high inflation being 9.1%, possibly hitting 10%. You know, is that to make us feel better about the cost of food right now? Is that to make us feel better about the cost of rent going up as high as 40 and 60% in certain areas, like in Florida and New York, Atlanta, Houston, and some other areas? Don't even talk about out in LA and certain areas in California. Is that to help us to feel better about the higher cost of living? A soft recession? No. Personally, I think that some of the indicators that have been previously used to determine what a recession looks like, we're going to have to re-examine that after we go through this process that we're currently in right now. But one of those indicators is the S&P 500 being down over 20%. Yes, we did hit that margin. Also, I want to say one of the indicators is the gross domestic product being down for 2 quarters at a time or something like that. I got to look that one up. So I don't know if I can necessarily say that we are in a recession based on certain factors. However, I would say that we are on the border where things could turn one way or the other, right? Now, for the last 30 days, the S&P has been up 7.41%. Still down, I want to say over 9% for the year to date. But overall, for the last 30 days, the S&P has been up 7.1%. I think one of the problems is because we're feeling it as consumers. We're feeling it at the grocery store. Am I lying, y'all? We're feeling it at the gas pump. We're just feeling it in the cost of living. And our wages, necessarily with a lot of people, their wages haven't been keeping up with our current levels of inflation. So for us, we're feeling it because we are the everyday average tax-paying American citizen. So we're feeling it in our everyday cost of living and the things that we need on a daily basis, especially if you're not a homeowner and you're not locked into a fixed mortgage rate for 15 or 30 years or whatever the case may be. So if you are, paying rent, I know some people whose monthly rent has gone up to $300, $400, gone up that per month. So, it's hard to say that we're not in a recession, but a lot of the indicators are not really lining up to say yes, we're in a recession. But man, things are real shaky, and we know that. Now, if you are not investing, I think we should always be investing. As I read the quote by Warren Buffett, if you aren't thinking about owning a stock for 10 years, don't even think about owning it for 10 minutes. Now, I think we should always be thinking long term. So therefore, here's my recommendations. I don't think you should stay away from the stock market. I think it should be part of a diversified plan, a diversified portfolio. It should be a part of it. Stocks look different, it's not just cut and dry, go out and buy one particular company. It's not that cut and dry when I say stocks or the stock market. There are mutual funds. Therefore, I recommend, like I talked about in one of my other podcast shows, is if you paid yourself a car note for the next 13 years and you earn an average of either 9 to 12% interest on that money, you will still have over $100,000 if you would earn 9 to 12% interest on that money for the next 13 years, dollar cost averaging, taking $400 a month and putting it into a mutual fund. Do your homework though. Get the prospectus, read it, and know what you're investing in. Educate yourself, right? So, a large cap mutual fund with a time frame of a minimum, y'all hear this? Of a minimum of 10 years. A large cap mutual fund with a minimum investment horizon of 10 years. Minimum. Number 2, you can get into ETFs. There are certain online do-it-yourself accounts that you can set up and get into ETFs. So basically, they are just like a mutual fund, but you trade them over the stock market, right? They are funds that are set up that purchase a lot of companies, and it takes a lot of you having to do the work and build your own portfolio. So you can buy ETFs, but once again, dollar cost average, right? Take a specific dollar amount every month, put it into a large cap mutual fund, or start dollar cost averaging every month, set it for automatic withdrawal, and educate yourself, do your due diligence in ETF or one or two of them. Also, another thought is to also, if you want to get into more individual stocks, go blue chip. The safest bet, dividend paying blue chip stocks, right? Not because you want to necessarily right now earn income from those dividends that the company would pay, but the dividend represents that typically these are larger, more established companies, more large capitalization, blue chip stock companies that you can dollar cost average in and do that. Once again, investment horizon, 10 years or longer, right? So there's something else that I want to address, which is often the elephant in the room. The media, they always talk about things from a fear base. And here's what happens when people panic and become fearful. They make bad judgment calls and decisions, especially as it relates to money, because money affects our everyday, day-to-day life. Once again, Warren Buffett said the stock market is a device which transfers money from the impatient to the patient. Control your emotions about investing. Set your plan, Set it for a long horizon, a duration of time, and stick with it, and then you can alter it and tailor it as the years go by. But I do think that you should be investing your money, because at the end of the day, we still have to have the mindset and set the goal to stay ahead of inflation for the long duration, for the long term, for the long haul. And if you're not investing your money, and your money is in a mattress or buried in your backyard, you won't be able to do that. And you cannot out earn inflation. You have to out invest it with assets that grow and increase in value over time at a rate higher than the long-term inflation rate. Hopefully that makes sense. But invest your money. Don't let fear and the things that the media is saying to you keep you sticking your money in a pillowcase, because you won't be able to outpace inflation like that. Now, let's get into the gold nugget for the night. And my goal is always to hope you. There are people, once again, fear-based. Oh my God, look at interest rates. The Fed is raising interest rates. Houses are going through the roof in prices because we've seen over the last 2 to 3 years these 40% increases in the housing market. And we're facing this bubble, and it's going to possibly burst. And oh my God, it's always doom and gloom with some people, right? Here's what I say about the housing market. Come on in, y'all. Come on in. If you're watching, come on in. Come closer. People are saying, ooh, now is not the time to buy a house. Interest rates are going up. Interest rates are high. And now is not the time to buy a house. I say it's never ever a bad time to buy a house if you have the means and the funds to do it. Here's the thing. Don't overpay. Look, The Millionaire Next Door, there are people that kick that book because it tells people just like you and me, regular old people, just to invest your money long term, stick it in 401ks, do conservative stuff like that. And they tell you, oh, that's terrible. Why would you tie your money up? Get into houses. I'm saying you don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? There's not just one way to do it, right? And everybody is not necessarily as astute or as studied or as equipped with their knowledge and skills to get into certain types of investment arenas, right? So if you're going to buy a house, The Millionaire Next Door, in that book, they talk about not purchasing a home that's more than 2 times your annual income. So if you make $80,000, we're going to use your gross. If you make $80,000 a year annually, don't purchase a house over 160. They use that guideline because you don't want to become house poor. I know you don't like that word, but you don't want to become house burden. And just because a mortgage company or somebody tells you you can afford a certain amount of house, if you go out and you buy the max, what your income allows you to purchase, then you basically essentially take money out of your ability, out of your discretionary income that you could potentially have left over to invest those dollars for a future return. because we know that most people, even when they do buy a house, when they do tap into their equity, they either tap into it through refinancing so they could just get a lower payment and pay their house off early. But most people are not thinking about or becoming cognizant of how can I put the equity in my home to use for me and become my own bank and extract that equity out to continue to build into appreciable assets. So most people not thinking like that. So don't purchase a home that's more. I know you want the biggest, most beautiful, baddest. You want to just buy your last retirement house right now. But what about, there was a time when we would grow and build to that. Now you got people now want to come right out of college and buy a $500,000 house. And you just got into the workforce and you haven't built up your retirement savings and you haven't really gotten your feet wet in making sure that you're able to live on a standard budget over no matter how much money that you make over a certain amount of time. So wisdom would dictate, look, there's a reason why those people that they surveyed and interviewed in that book, The Millionaire Next Door, were millionaires and above average, not earners, but above average investors, above average savers, and above average accumulators of wealth. Because they didn't overspend on a house. So when people are saying that you can't afford a house, don't buy a house right now, it's not a good time to buy a house, I say for nargo. In other words, for nargo, that's made up garbage. Let me tell you this. Let me help you. In September 29th, 1999, I purchased my first house. Right? Even then, because I had read the book, The Millionaire Next Door, I didn't purchase a house that was more than 2 times my annual income, gross income. My interest rate on that loan, an FHA loan, my interest rate in 1999, September 29th, is when I signed the paperwork. 1999, I still got the papers, they're right here behind me. 1999, my interest rate on that loan was 8.5%. 8.5%. 1999. Let me pull up my screen so I can help you. For all of those people that's telling you, don't buy a house right now. Wait. No, if you have the means and you can afford and you have done the work, right? Purchase your house. Just follow some guidelines and follow some rules so that you don't get yourself house burden. I want to share my screen because I want to share with you some numbers, because the last thing I don't want people saying is he don't know what he's talking about. He just spewing off some stuff. He don't know what he's talking about. So I want to show you the numbers. Are you ready for this? 1981. The all-time high for mortgage rates. 1981 was the worst year for mortgage rates, interest rates on record. How bad? The average mortgage rate in 1981 was 16.63%. So at 16.63%, a $200,000 mortgage has a monthly cost for principal and interest of $2,800. And you got people paying that for rent these days. $2,800 in rent. Compared with the long time average, that's an extra monthly cost of $1,300 or $15,900 per year. Right? And that's just the average. Some people, do you see that down there at the bottom? Some people paid more. 1981. The Fed prime rate, I want to say, hit like over 20%. Something like that. 2021, the lowest 30-year mortgage rates ever. But we've gotten spoiled. Rates plummeted in 2020 and 2021 in response to the coronavirus pandemic. By July 2020, the 30-year fixed rate fell below 3% for the first time. And we've gotten spoiled. We think that that's normal. No. Interest rates below 3% in housing, that's not normal. For the first time, and it kept falling to a new record low of just 2.65% in January 2021. At 2.65%, the monthly cost for a $200,000 home loan is $806 a month, not counting taxes and insurance. You save $662 a month or $7,900 a year compared to the 8% long-term average. So the long-term average on mortgage rates, 8%. Let's go here. So from 1974, I have the mortgage rates for 30-year rates from 1974 to 2021. Remember I said in 1999, I purchased my first home and my interest rate on a FHA loan, I had a fixed rate of 8.5%. In 1999, the average 30-year rate was 7.44%. Look at these numbers, folks, from 1974. Scan through them for yourself so you can see them. 1990, the average 30-year rate, 10.13%. Come on, keep scrolling through. Keep scanning through. Look, 2002, the average 30-year fixed mortgage rate, 6.5%, 6.54%. 2003, 5.83. Just look at the numbers. Do you see a trend? Okay, we had some low rates in 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013. But look at that. 2020, the average rate was 3.10%. 2021, the average 30-year fixed rate was 2.96%. There were cases where people were getting interest rates lower than that. These are just the average, right? So now, in 2022, according to Bankrate, the average 30-year fixed rate on a mortgage is 5.6%, and a 15-year fixed rate 4.840. So look at this. Look at these numbers over the historical data that we're showing you for the 30-year rates on mortgages since 1974. Why are we telling people not to buy a house at a rate of 5.6%? According to U.S. Bank, a 30-year fixed rate with them is 5.5%. Why are we telling people not to buy a house if they can get a rate at 5.5%? To me, that's absolute insanity to tell people, oh my God, stay away from the housing market. Don't buy a house right now because interest rates are too high. In 1999, I paid 8.5% interest rate on an FHA loan. If you have put in the work, you've gotten your cash reserves up, right? You got your cash on hand. You got your credit in order. You've worked on your credit rating, right? Your personal credit rating. And you can afford to purchase a home. You can buy what you want. You don't have to follow the guideline, like I said, that was in The Millionaire Next Door, that I have personally followed on every home that I have bought since I bought my first one in 1999. Even my current home, I did the same. I was not going to purchase a home that was more than 2 times my annual gross income. That's just what I follow, right? I think it was great advice. These people are millionaires. In the book, The Millionaire Next Door, everyday average people just like me, they just are above average accumulators of wealth. If they gave that as advice, I didn't think it's a problem to follow it. And as of right now, my mortgage including my taxes and insurance, is only 12.5% of my monthly gross income because I didn't become house burden. I would not tell you something that I didn't think would help you. So, if you can find a mortgage rate at 5.5% and you have the means to purchase a house and you can afford to do it and you got your cash reserves, you got your credit in order, you put in the work to do what you need to do, the rates are, in my opinion, yes, they're higher than those crazy below average interest rates that we experienced during the pandemic. But they, historically speaking, they're still relatively low. What's the guy that be doing that he just be looking and then he go, do I need to bring it back up again? Yes, let's bring it back up again so you can see for yourself. Historically speaking, when it comes to mortgage interest rates, they are still relatively low. There we have them. From 1974, where interest rates on mortgages were an average 30-year rate, 9.19%. Look at that. 1979, 11.2. 1981, 16.63, the average 30-year rate. There were people that paid more. 1983, 13.24. 1986, 10.19. 1989, 10.32. Look at that. 1994, 8.38%. 1995, 7.93%. Just look at the historical numbers on the average 30-year mortgage rates since 1974. I would say that a mortgage rate of 5.5% is still relatively low and not pricing people out of the market. But what has priced people out of the housing market, let me close this so you can see my face, because we got to own this stuff. And when we don't own it and we keep complaining and we keep blaming everybody and we don't take accountability, what has priced people out of the housing market is their own spending, poor spending habits. Come on, drop some comments below if I'm wrong. What has priced people out of the market is their own poor spending habits. Let's see what people are saying in the comment section. Thank you, Angela. Angela says, I know someone whose rent went up $500 per month. Whoo, Jesus. Yes, Auntie, if you can't hear it, go out and come back in again. Yes. She says, I'm good now. Great. That's awesome. What else do we see? Truth. Thank you, Charlize. Thank you. Truth. Love it. What else? Home ownership. Do not purchase a home more than 2 times your annual income. Yes. Thank you, Deja. House burden is real. It is very real. And too many people, when interest rates were low, they just start going out and buying a bunch of stuff because people said you had the credit rating to get it. So they get boats, motorcycles, RV, SUVs, buying extra vehicles and cars, went out and just bought the biggest, baddest house. Look, if you buy the house, you still got to be able to afford the expenses on it and the maintenance on it, folks. So just because they tell you can afford a $500,000 house, why would you would say, but I didn't overpay for it. If it cuts into your ability to enjoy your life, yes, you did overpay for it. And I think it's just utterly ridiculous and foolish to tell people that interest rates at 5.5% are too high to purchase a home. I'm just trying to help you. But tell me what y'all think. It's utter ridiculous. Do the work, folks. Now is the time. Get your cash reserves right. Because I personally believe, this is me speaking, mark this date down if you want to. What is it, the 8th of August? I personally think that we're going to see some more stuff going for sale at discounted rates. Trust me, houses prices are going to level off and potentially come down some, even if the interest rates don't curb off back down to those historical lows. Don't even expect that, right? But if you get your cash reserves right, you can position yourself and leverage yourself to be able to make a purchase between now and say the next 2 years, right? Position yourself. Work on your credit. I think personally, and I've said it before, if you focus on building your net worth, your credit score will follow. Get your debt paid off. Get it paid off. Just pay it off. Right now, don't carry a balance on a credit card, on a revolving account. Not right now. Don't do that. Pay it all off. I just paid one off. I just dropped a lump sum on it to get it off the books. Right? Don't carry a monthly balance on a credit card right now. And if you need to buy a car, a vehicle, you better look at that interest rate, and you better look at that total that you're paying for that car, and not just go off of what you think you can afford on a monthly basis right now, because people are paying used car prices. People are paying new car prices for used vehicles right now. Who, Jesus, my Lord. So that's my thoughts. Drop me some more comments below. Tell me what you all think. So we've talked about the cost of living. Don't expect it to curb off right now, in my opinion. And I really think that the Fed is going to be real hard pressed, even continuing to raise the interest rates on the plan that they've set out, that I've detailed out in a previous video. I think they're going to be hard pressed to try to hit that target, their target inflation rate by next year. I think it's going to be rough. And I think that it's a possibility we may be hitting 10%. Don't be surprised if we touch that 10% mark in cost of living and inflation. So the CPI number. So get your cash reserves right, y'all. Start building up your cash reserves. Take your discretionary income that you would have been paying once you get those credit cards and stuff, revolving accounts, personal loans. Get that stuff paid off. Get your money. Take that extra, the money that's now extra that you would have been paying on those payments, and start sticking it into something that's earning some interest at whatever your comfort level is. You don't want to get into what we talked about in here, large cap mutual funds, ETFs, or blue chip stocks. You don't want to get into that. Whatever you feel comfortable putting your money in, do that. But get your cash reserves up. And take that money that you would have been paying on those revolving accounts, personal loans, and other stuff like that. Hey, cut back on some stuff. And get your money stacked up. All right? Cash reserves. So, tell me that you love me, y'all. Drop some hearts. Drop some hearts. Thank y'all for coming through tonight. I hope that this video helped you. And I hope I said something that was of value to you tonight in this conversation. I am working on having Sharita. I reached out to her today, getting Sharita Gibson to come back and talking about some things. She was she was phenomenal. So go watch that that show that we did on becoming your own bank. So much valuable content and information in that video. So thanks for watching tonight. It's been James Hollingsworth on Working People's Podcast. Drop some hearts if you're over there on YouTube. Press that subscribe button and ring ding, 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 that notification bell so you'll get notified when we upload new videos and new content. And also, I haven't came through yet to see if there are any comments over there on the Second Friendship Missionary Baptist Church Facebook page. But shout out to the ship. Shout out to Rodney Williams and Second Friendship Missionary Baptist Church for allowing us to stream live to their Facebook page. Thanks for joining us tonight. But you know I gotta go. I got to